Today we're talking about consulting or contractor pay, specifically in financial services in London, UK, but obviously this can be used for other sectors as well, especially technology, IT, and others. So I guess before we start, I just wanted to say that we are all looking around us and seeing what's going on with the inflation going out of proportion, something we most of us we haven't experienced in our lives, um, and in comparison to normal times, years back in the past where we would have 1 to 2% inflation rate during the year. Now it seems that we're talking about almost closer to 10% inflation rate, well, official inflation rate, but where the actual inflation rate, the way we feel it in our pockets, it's closer to 20%, if not even more. And these rates are, unfortunately, even on the rise. They're on the rise. So in today's reality, it's very important that we make sure every means we can increase our earnings are considered, and then a real assessment is needed on whether is it worthwhile staying in a permanent role, given that it may become increasingly more difficult to be able to meet um, expenditures, as well as maintaining the lifestyle, given the rampant increase in inflation rate. So today we are going to talk about consulting contractor pay in UK, specifically London, financial services. However, the figures and the information here can apply to any sector in UK, specifically England. So we've discussed inflation and how getting closer to 20% per year and going higher. I'm talking about the real inflation rates, not the published ones, the official published ones. So let's talk about the contractor pay for contractors in financial services, UK, London specifically. Um, Again, this applies to other sectors as well in UK. Different levels of pay and ranges. So there are I call junior or entry level roles and senior experience roles. So I'd say from what I've seen, for the junior, more entry level roles, usually the pay on offer for contract roles is quoted in um, pounds per hour, whereas with the senior, more experienced roles, the pay is quoted in pounds per day. So you get an hourly rate for a more junior role, and usually you get a day rate for a more senior experienced role. Now, there is an overlap um, between these two and how much a role can pay when it's paid by the hour and when it's paid by the day. So I'd say when we talk about hourly rate, we talk about anything between say 19 pounds, 19 pounds an hour, and it can go up to 45, 50 pounds, 55 pounds an hour. Whereas with a day rate, usually the day rate can start from 150 pounds a day. That's like at the lowest end. I'd say on average, usually, contract rates pay, 250 pounds a day and up. So, but say at an absolute minimum, the contract can pay from 150 pounds a day and up to 1,500 pounds a day, sometimes even more. Now, the majority of roles, from my experience, I've seen advertised around say 450 to 550 pounds a day. That seems to be the sweet spot. And obviously for people who have just started or will be starting in their contracts, especially if they are more junior, this is something to aspire to at this level. They'll probably be starting around 250, maybe 300 pounds a day, or maybe an hourly rate. But majority of roles advertised in the market, available in the market, in many sectors I see, they're between 450 and 550 pounds a day. The next thing I would like to discuss is that it doesn't matter where you start, it matters that you start. So say, you feel that your skills and experience could, get you a 300 pounds a day contract. However, you're interviewing and, the offer you get is, short, comes short, falls short of that. It's only 250 or 275. I suggest you take it, because at the end of the day, you want to be in your first contract, and then you can always increase your day rate when you move to the next. So in your next contract, you can charge more, and then obviously you can increase your day rate again with the contract after that. So I'd say it's best not to procrastinate. It's best not to, um, what's more important is that you do start in a contract, then you have money coming in, and then you can make up the difference, later on in the near future. So I would not get too hung up on, what is the first day rate you start on. Obviously, ideally, you shouldn't be too far off from what you think your day rate should be based on your experience and skills and expertise, because otherwise, it will take longer for you to catch up. It will take longer for you to, I guess, recuperate in terms of, potential lost earnings and time to get to the level you desire. It will take longer. But if, it's just 25, 50 pounds per day difference, I'd say, make the jump. So in terms of how much, what's the maximum somebody can get in a contract role, let's say with time and experience. So I'd say the highest day rates I've seen advertised, they pay around 1,400, 1,500 pounds a day, and these are really very, senior roles, and there are not many that I see advertised. So I'd say an informed guess is that that would be about the maximum you could hope to get right now in a contract role, for the long term. Obviously, with higher inflation, probably that is going to grow as well. That level is going to increase as well with time. So if you're like me, at some point you'd be thinking, well, I want to earn more than that in the future, and um, my suggestion to you is that if you think long enough, you will find a solution, and I promise you that you will find a solution. In terms of barriers to earning more, I'd say there are two main ones. So let's talk about barriers to earning more. From my experience, there are two main ones. The most important one is the psychological barrier related to the mindset of the contractor. This is something you can work on and you can resolve in time. Some people, can do this faster than others. So what I mean by this is it's the ability to ask for more and ask what you're worth. If you do not know your value and ask for it, how else do you think you will get it? You are your best representative. Remember that. No one else can make the ask for you. You have to do it, and you have to learn how to do it well. I mean, the ask. You have to learn how to do the ask well. So the other one is the other barrier is the budget that hiring companies set for the roles they have vacant. I can share with you what I've found. I can share with you what I found in my own experience. years and years of consulting, contracting, I've seen time and time again the larger, more established companies, big brand names you see everywhere. Um, they know that many candidates, many contractors, they would love to work for them. Obviously, again, for the prestige, for having the brand logo on the CV afterwards, for boosting their own experience and skills and marketability. So they know that many people want to work for them. So what they do, they usually have, in my experience, the lower rates. I could name a few names, but I don't want to get into trouble. So I would say it's all about demand and supply. They are the two market forces, and then you learn about them in marketing and economics. So the larger the company, the more renowned the company, the higher the price the people willing to work for, looking to work for that company are going to pay in terms of, a reduced day rate that they will be willing to accept to have that brand, that logo on their own CVs afterwards, and hopefully increasing their marketability in the market. The problem with that is if you, as a contractor or consultant, are making a trajectory of you're making a target of working for only renowned companies, only well-known, prestigious companies, the possible the possible risk is that you may end up, getting in roles that don't pay more than £500 a day, if even that, for a extended period of time. So my suggestion to you is that you alternate. So pick a few, a couple, maybe one or two large companies to build up your resume, and then later you can choose more unpopular or not so well-known companies where you can demand a higher rate. The next point I'd like to touch on is moving away from competition. This is related to the previous point, in which, from my experience, I found that it is best to find jobs or companies that look undesirable, or they are not that well known and have lower number of applications. The smaller the more unusual, the better for you in terms of your prospects of getting a great rate and the job offer, of course. I'd like to talk about using recruitment agencies versus going direct. In my experience, the large companies, they always work with recruitment agencies. So even if you approach them directly, they would redirect you to their preferred recruitment agency or their preferred supplier for employment services. You may find situations where you apply directly with the large corporation, and you get your application declined. However, you apply through a recruitment agency for the same role, and you may get invited to an interview. So it's really that surprising. In relation to using a recruitment agency, I would say this works. This works very well. I've used recruitment agencies throughout my career. It's great to work with them. They're very professional. Now, the one downside that it's important to keep in mind is that once the contract ends, I find it's very rare that they can find something else for you right away. I mean, if at all, because obviously their clients are the companies that they place candidates with. So you are basically just a product. So they only come to you once they get an order from the companies, their clients. Then they come to you to get you interested to sell you the opportunities. So if you have this idea in mind that you may be working with the same agency and you have one contract after another through the same agency, chances are that's not going to be the reality. It may be that you work through an agency for a client, and then that contract ends, you move on, you get another role with another agency for another client, and then so on and so on. And then maybe a few years in the future you come back, because the first agency, they have something available for one of their clients, and then they contact you because they've seen your details on a job board, or because they kept your details, and they they thought of you and they wanted you to know about this new opportunity. So in the end, you may work through an agency more than once, but that is by exception. From my experience, is not the norm. One point that I want to make sure that I get across to you is that you need to get your numbers right. So what I mean by that is you need to get a real estimation of the amount of effort, time, and energy required to go through the search process to find your best role, your best contract. And this, in my opinion, that's my suggestion, should be an ongoing activity that you do, or if you're lucky enough to be able to delegate this to someone else that can help you do it for you. This is to help you generate leads on a continuous basis, as you should not stop selling your services even while you are in a contract. It is best that you are in a position to be offered roles, and you need to decline them because you're already engaged in a role. The reason I'm suggesting you do that is I've seen this happen so many times. So it can happen that you are sold a contract for 12 months, and it turns out the contract schedule that you get and you sign is actually only for 6 months duration. And then in the end, the company has to revisit the budget and shorten the contract, say to, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. Obviously having nothing to do with your stellar performance in the role. So you see how you can be left out in the cold. So it's great to plan for the unexpected, and you will not be surprised or at a loss if the unexpected happens. So when you are in the market looking for your next role, I would like you to remember that it is a numbers game, just like in sales. This is a sales process you're actually going through. You're getting leads, generating leads, qualifying leads, and then you go through the sales process, or you go through the sales process, and then you complete the sale, and then you deliver the work, and then you start again. So given that this is a sales process, it's a numbers game. So the more no's or the more declines you get, the closer you are to your yes. That really counts. That's the only thing that's important. So don't get don't let yourself affected when you go to interviews, and then perhaps you get a negative outcome. It's important that you keep your mind focused on the yes that is going to come quicker and faster, because you already went through so many no's. So you need to have an idea of how, on average, how many no's it takes on average, based on your experience, to get to a yes, to an offer. That's very important. So it's a numbers game, just like in sales. It takes so many no's until you get to a yes. Keep the main thing. The main thing is you getting the offer. So persevere, and then, the quicker you go through the no's, the quicker you're gonna get to the yes, the offer that matters. All right, so that's all I've got for you today. If you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again in one of my next videos.